Okay, we are out live. There's Mary Lou. Give it a minute to let Mary Lou get in here before I hit record. Okay, there's Mary Lou.
At that, I forgot I had to scroll down 12 months to get the,
There you go. Yeah. Just a reminder, it's the same link now for the regular meeting for the rest of the year. So you might want to bookmark it, or I can resend it each time. Okay, we're out on YouTube. We are live. We are recording. So I call the March meeting of the Town of Rochester Town Board to order. We will start with the pledge to the flag over my shoulder here. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kate, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilwoman Anowen,
here,
Councilwoman Hagen DePew,
here,
Councilman Hewitt, Councilman Paddock.
Here.
Supervisor Baden.
Here. Okay, our first order of business is a public hearing for local law number 1, which is amending chapter 17 ethics to add provisions for an alternate member. I will share the local law on the screen for those at home. This is adding a section in the local law that first defines alternate member, which is an individual appointed by the town board to serve when a regular member is unable to participate on matter before the ethics board as provided herein. And then the second section is a reiteration of our current establishment of ethics boards, except we have added section D. The Town of Rochester Town Board shall appoint an alternate member to the Ethics Committee. Alternate members shall be appointed by the town board. Actually, it is called Ethics Committee, not Ethics Board. My apologies. Shall be appointed to the town board for a term of 3 years. And then the chairperson shall designate the alternate member to substitute for a regular member for any matter of time or period of time. Such regular member is recused due to conflict of interest. Such regular member has or will have extended absence from the board for 2 or more months, or 3 to establish a quorum for a specific meeting. The alternate member shall remain in place for all the review of the specific matter until such time as the matter is decided, and shall possess all the powers of a regular board member. The chairperson shall make such designation by verbal statement indicating which regular member is being substituted for, and shall direct such designation be made in the minutes of each meeting the alternate is substituted. The alternate member shall not take part in any deliberation of any matter unless designated to substitute by the chairperson. That is the extent of the local law. So at this time, I would open the public hearing. I see we have 2 members of the public who have phoned in. I believe I recognize the phone numbers. I believe it is Mr. Pinsky and Mr. Jones. So I'll just, if either of you wishes to comment on this local law, I would ask you to unmute and state your comments, or if you just want to say you have nothing to say on this local law.
This is Zorian. I have no comment.
Okay, thank you, Zorian. Rick?
Mike, it's Rick Jones. I have nothing to say.
I'm sorry, say that again, Rick?
I have nothing to say on the matter.
On the local
on
law.
the floor.
Okay, thank you. We have in the past held the public hearing open just for a short time until more into the meeting in case somebody joins us. Does the board want to do that again at this time. We will move on to the next agenda item. And we can close the public hearing in about 15 or 20 minutes or whenever we decide tonight, if there is no further comment. Kate, did you receive any written comments?
I did not.
Okay. I don't think we need an actual resolution for that. Is the board okay? We'll move on with the agenda. So the next item on our agenda is a privilege of the floor extended to Clark Patterson Lee to give us the results of the building conditions survey.
Mike, did you close the public hearing? I'm sorry.
We're
I
gonna
may-
wait a few minutes,
Oh.
like we did the last one, in case
You got it.
anybody does join in, and we'll close
Okay.
it. We'll close it
Okay.
probably in about 15 minutes.
Okay. Sorry.
Welcome, Tim Moot, and I apologize, I've forgotten the name of the person who's with you here.
Chris Ladani, thank you, Supervisor.
Sure.
I'm Tim Moot, Principal with CPL, and Chris Ladani's online with me tonight, one of our architects that assisted with the overall building condition survey of the multiple sites for the town of Rochester. I'll give a brief overview in that, we generally do a very detailed overview. We have a complex spreadsheet, but for the interest of the public in this timeframe tonight, we've sort of condensed it down to the highlights, and Chris will basically walk you through each building.
And I've given you both screen share capability, so if either of you wants to take control of that at this time, go right ahead.
Okay, I'll lend it to Chris to take over. And I just like to say, if there's questions, maybe we open up the floor for questions for each site. That way, we're not going way back into the presentation. So
Great.
don't hesitate to ask questions along the way. So take it away, Chris. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Happy to be here tonight. Sorry, I don't have a webcam. I forgot it at the office, but doesn't really matter. I'll be sharing my screen. Thanks, Mike, for the sharing privileges here. Let me get the presentation tuned up here. Can everyone see that okay?
Looks great.
Okay. Again, I'm Chris Ladani. I'm one of the architects with CPL. So I'm just going to be walking through each site and kind of breaking down what myself and the team had seen. We not only, let me just preface this as it was myself looking at the architectural structural components of the building, as well as Tim Moot looking at the civil site side, and then also James Masula, who's not here tonight, but we have all of his information to present. He was looking at the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing aspects of all the buildings. Okay, so moving right into the town hall. So basically, this is how each building was going to be broken down into a spreadsheet similar to this. On the left side, we have a priority 1 through 5, a description of the item, and then a corrective action, and then a probable budget allocation. We state it as probable budget allocation for a couple of reasons. And one is that here we have a project cost on these, and project cost differs from construction cost because it includes some of the soft costs and the incidentals here. So that would be if any of these given things, design fees or, insurance or administrative fees, that's all factored in. Some of these are large items, some of these are small. So some of these can be broken out into potential maintenance things or lumped together into one larger project. So as here we're at the town hall, as we went through, there's going to be a lot of line items, so I'm going to try to get through them fairly quickly. But again, like Tim said, if anyone has any questions, just don't hesitate to chime in. Here we talk about some of the building facade, like the main entry columns that need some painting, the door frames, similar to door threshold at the front of the entrance would need a new the blacktop's chipped away, so it causes a little bit of a tripping hazard, and that area would need to be repainted or resealed and repaved, excuse me. The window frames, again, more painting, removing some of the old caulking and recaulking those windows. Downspouts at the front entry. This kind of relates to stormwater management, trying to get the water away from the building. All fairly minor things that could be handled fairly easily. One of the larger items here is this next one, the roof intersection between the town hall and the highway garage. It's kind of an awkward transition from one building to the next that creates a little bit of a problem with rain or stormwater draining off that roof. We have a photo that's affiliated with that, so I can get you a visual on that as I move on. But that needs a pretty big fix to that area, so that the water basically drains better, and then you don't have this kind of nook that potential water collection there, which then relates to water infiltration and things of that nature, which is never good for a building. So with that fix, we would make the water flow a lot better and eliminate that chance of water getting into the building. Minor thing with the soffit, just reattaching one area on the interior of the building. Some of the walls need to be patched and painted. Some of the office carpet is outdated. It's roll carpet. We suggest anytime you replace carpet, you put tiles and provide some attic stock so you have some ability to replace them a little easier. So new flooring in the bathrooms and corridors, the vinyl composite tile, which is a resilient material. Some of your drop ceilings are damaged or stained, and call some of the replacement of that. Door frames, again, painting. So you'll see that some of these costs here kind of outline the severity of any given line item. Again, they're project costs. These costs probably look a little high in some areas, but we kind of plan for the worst and hope for the best. And also we have our public bidding hat on. So if we know that this is going to go out to public bid potentially with prevailing wage and things like that, things get fairly expensive. So one of the, some file storage that was a little too high up that can be removed. The main entrance, providing ADA compliant ramp to the main entry. And then the women's restroom, providing an ADA accessible door. ADA applies to Americans with Disabilities Act.
To clarify real quick for the board, those cost estimates are, if we, as he just said, if we would go out to an outside vendor, many of these we can probably do in-house and significantly cut down on the cost, because we'd only be buying materials rather than providing the cost of a laborer or a contractor to do the work. So.
Yep,
Chris,
go ahead.
excuse me. On this page alone, I'm looking at close to 95,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, at each building, I tally up the total. Again, like Mike had said, really the crux of what we're trying to accomplish here. I'm not dismissing the cost, obviously, but it's really this running list. What we call these, this effort really is creating it's a building condition survey, but it's also a master plan. This was all in a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that we provided, to the town so that they could use it as a running tab of different things that need to get done on different priorities, different years, 5 years out. And when they do get stuff done, whether it's in-house or bid out, that you could kind of check it off the list, and you kind of have this nice running tab of items that you could really, expand upon and really make it this organic list that's ever changing, ever being updated to really get a sense of your building facilities and where you need to be. So.
Right. And Chris, let me add on the priorities 1 through 5. So from our opinion, you're going to want to consider addressing the ones as like a priority one, like that needs to be done soon. And you'll find a lot of times the ADA piece or a health and safety piece is a number 1, whereas, maybe a number 5 is more on an aesthetic piece. So, it's not just adding up all the column as a priority 1. Our suggestion was sort of trying to rank some of these in a matter of priority. And then from that, establishing sort of like Chris said, a master plan and budgetary roadmap over, say, the next 5 years. So that's, and then I think Chris has more relative to time the town hall. So.
Yep, going to the next page, that was the building stuff, the architectural items, structural items. Here's more of the, you know, mechanical, electrical, plumbing items. We have here, you know, providing a new fire alarm system, relocating the break room, you know, replacing the oil furnace, replacing some of the refrigerant piping. Some of the exhaust fans need replacement, providing a backflow preventer at the water service, replacing some wiring for the electric water heater, providing some ADA compliant faucets and fixtures for the women's room, providing an updated electrical panel, adding some new circuits for additional loading of the, you know, the existing electrical system, providing, you know, LED fixtures for some of the older, to replace some of the older fluorescent fixtures, upgrading some of the emergency exit lighting, providing some additional outlets, repairing some faceplates or replacing faceplates for some of the electrical switches, providing new heat detectors, and providing carbon monoxide, you know, alarm system within the mechanical room. So your grand total here, again, you know, don't get worried. I mean, it's a little sticker shock, I'm sure. But, you know, is 232,776. So as I go through, you know, this town hall is on the same site as the highway garage as well. So I'll get to the highway garage. So here's the location of, I was speaking of, where there's an intersection between the town hall and the garage that creates a little bit of a kind of a canyon type thing, or a crevice that just isn't ideal for water flow. And this photo too here is a picture of the furnace that's approaching the end of useful life there. So we don't have too much photos, but we have plenty of them, you know, that we'll hand over to the town, you know, again, for documentation purposes. As we move on to the highway garage, a couple things here would be providing some flashing at a louver on the outside of the building, sealing some wall penetrations, repairing some damaged block wall areas, replacing a cap on the parapet of the roof, scraping and painting some of the structural lintels on the overhead doors, repairing some of the jams at the overhead doors, replacing some of the single pane windows at that building. That kind of has a twofold effect between, you know, being more energy efficient, as well as a noise thing as well. The mezzanine storage area, you know, providing fire rated construction between the storage area and the rest of the building, replacing any damaged insulation in select areas, repairing some of the non-compliant stairs that are in that building. You know, there also an ADA compliance for the restroom. So these ones are, you know, and then with the MEP stuff, you got the fire alarm, providing new fire alarm system, you know, installing an exhaust fan louver properly, cleaning some ceiling fans, vent system needs to be realigned, sealed, replacing a new office AC unit, and replacing the water pump. Again, you know, some of the bigger ones here would be, you know, the generator. The generator close to end of a useful life here, and replacing that. So, in the sake of time, you know, being sensitive to everybody's time, you know, I'm just going to kind of hit up some of the larger items. The building total here at the highway garage is $145,448. Some of the
quick question on that. You had the fire alarm listed both in town hall and the highway garage at the same price. Was that meant as one price for the whole building, or a separate price for each side of the building?
That would be a separate price for each side of the building.
Okay.
Again, that's the
Because I'll
project
tell you,
cost.
we actually just awarded a bid for it last week at $16,740 for both sides of the building. So,
Okay.
So that's one we can cross off the list.
Yeah, great. Yeah. No, that's excellent. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the way that we had it broken down, we're just kind of treating each building separately. So,
Okay,
again, the construction cost for something like that, I would say you're probably right for 16, you got a pretty good deal there. Our estimate, there were about construction costs about 15 to 20 per building. So, that again, we have that kind of public bid hat on with some of these, and we factor in an inflation, factor as well, because you don't necessarily know what timeline these things are going to get done at. So,
sure.
so that's good.
Do you want to stop at this point and get any board questions on the two places?
Sure.
And then Jeff, if you want to chime in as well.
My
Okay,
question, I'm sorry, my
Go ahead,
question
Bea.
to the gentleman are this, is there moisture, do you think, between where the town hall attaches to the highway garage with the difference in materials there? Do you think there's a problem in there of any kind that needs to be remediated?
With our visual assessment, we kind of just flag things that could be potential issues. Really to properly assess something like that locally, we would have to do a little bit more of potentially a destructive investigation. I don't mean that in a way we tear down the place, but some core samples and some removing areas to really truly understand what's going on there. Anytime you have a roofing issue where there might be moisture within the roof, the typical protocol there would be having a roofer come out with us and actually do a core sample of areas, so that they could follow us and patch that roof so that makes it weather tight. So really we flag that area as a potential concern. And then, if that is something that, the town needed us to look deeper into, we could definitely help out in any way we can. But we typically, before we do any sort of destructive investigation, we like to have contractors with us to make sure we patch everything up. This was a visual inspection of everything, so.
And I'll add that
Right.
that particular roof alignment is not industry standard when you have like those two juxtaposing slopes meeting each other like that. So for us, if it is a problem, maybe it isn't today, but down the road it could be. Now, I imagine that's been that way for quite some time. But to Chris's point, there need to be further investigation to see if there's moisture.
I just wondered when you looked at it, if you thought in any way of any venting or anything, soffit vents, obviously not roof vents because they don't match, but I just wondered.
Yep. No, it's a good question. Thank you.
Anybody else, or Jeff, do you have any thoughts on it?
No, not at this time, I don't.
Yeah, I think, we can look at that list, Jeff, and a number of them, or we can probably knock off some of the painting and caulking and those minor ones in-house without much effort with just some material, so.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking, the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
And I'll share tonight is generally an overview of everything. We've shared this document with Supervisor Baden, so certainly he'll share it amongst the board. And, if you want to take some time and go over, we could certainly regroup and answer any questions. There's a lot of information to go through, so.
Okay, yeah, let's move on then to the next section.
Okay. Yep. So this is some photos of the highway garage issues. Moving on to the salt shed. This is, fairly minor. You have a broken boiler in the front, some exterior plywood there. Could, use a coat of paint. If desired there, not a necessity. Again, some of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing issues here, very minor as far as switching some things to, LED. So your billing total here is about 31,000. Some photos here with just areas that need to be addressed potentially at grade where the building meets. And then also some of the, the plywood that, is exterior grade, it's good solid plywood, but it, you know, it couldn't hurt to prime and paint that just to get a little bit more longevity out of that. But that's a kind of a nice to have, not a necessity. The dog kennel here, which is the, you know, one of the smaller buildings on the site. We have some issues with the building perimeter as far as some of the, you know, the fencing is getting a little beat up, as well as the stone base that's becoming a little overgrown. So we replace that in kind. The wood columns that support the roof, you know, some of these would be needing to be replaced, and you actually do a true, you know, footing to them, and anchorage from the footing to the column. And then also the existing roofing of this building, we're suggesting that at a certain point that gets replaced and providing a proper pitch to that roof. So then, you know, you have this proper stormwater management. You could probably tell some of the theme here is stormwater management. It's just so crucially important for any given building to keep your building envelope tight and make sure that your interior investments are maintained. So that's probably a common theme amongst a lot of these buildings, is making sure that the Mother Nature stays out of them. So again, to the mechanical, electrical, plumbing aspects of this, all very minor as far as, you know, just some upgrades here and there and some maintenance as far as, cleaning and sealing. So your billing total at the kennel is $99,772. That's the roofing and some of the perimeter work. Perimeter work is obviously, I'm not dismissing that, but the roofing is probably your number one priority on this one. And just for reference there. So then at your pavilion, again, roofing, stormwater management, roofing's getting towards the end of its useful life. Some plywood substrate is showing some signs of, water infiltration and staining. So that's a big number here, is about $31,000 to replace that roof. We have a bowed column in the corner to replace that one. Again, some painting, fascia, gutter repairs. Again, with the stormwater management, making sure to catch that water and push it away from the building. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, again, some upgrades with the LEDs and the GFCI upgrades. Pavilion is a total of $42,822. Some photos for your reference. And then since all 5 of those buildings were on the same site, we put the site all together into one. So this is where the sticker shock really comes in. And Tim could probably speak about this a little bit more, but I'll set the stage for him. But basically, there's a lot of paving here. When we do estimates for paving, it's again, we have to do them like we're going out to public bid, DOT type stuff, and you'll see that basically a lot of the areas of paving we call for replacement. But again, your priorities are, they're not the 1s and 2s. There's some areas of 2s, but ultimately this is a larger paving package, and the site stuff is, we just wanted to break that up separately.
To Chris's point, I mean, this is like if it was prevailing wage rate bid. Obviously, the town has state bid pricing for asphalt. We are understood there's co-op services between other towns. So, we could revisit this budget number. I don't know if the town has 2021 asphalt prices yet, but I'm sure there'd be a significant savings if the town, number one, we're required to do this. I mean, generally, when we look at pavement, I say priority 1 is a fail. And I didn't really see too much that was a fail out there. I mean, it's on its way out. There were some repairs done over time and some patches. But generally, I say it's a fail when you start to snow plow and chunks come out of the pavement, creates potholes and things like that. So again, if you look at our priority ranking, none of the pavement work is ranked as a number 1. But again, we tried to use some preliminary quantifications with aerial overlays and AutoCAD and come up with the square footages there that you see in the parentheses. So again, we could revisit this if the town had 2021 pricing and state bid purchasing. So
I have a question, Tim. I understand your methodology and I appreciate the ranking and I think it's really helpful. When we got to the dog kennel though, I was thinking, I wonder if it would be cost less to just tear that down and rebuild a new structure. Do you think that there might be some of, like, I just had that thought, that maybe with the ranking, if we were to replace each thing, it might make it cost more than just replacing.
That's exactly one of the outcomes of this analysis. So we look at what does it cost to renovate, and then we say to ourselves, what does it cost to replace? And to take the dog kennel one step further, I myself had sticker shock for that one. And in speaking with Supervisor Baden, my understanding is there may be other towns that also rely on the use of your dog kennel. So that offers up, potential for intermunicipal grants. And to me, that could be something with other surrounding town buy-ins that, could be a valid pursuit. And the idea is you could use this information to say, hey, look, we evaluated this, the cost to renovate is, cost prohibitive, and, that's all valid information for a grant application. So it would be our recommendation, and we can help further look into that with you guys if that's the way the board wants it.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, good, great question, by the way. We get to that in another site, speaking about that same thing. It's almost like when your car's totaled, it's almost, where do you draw the line between repairing it and just getting a new one? So, storage barn here. So this is just to give you a review. That's where we're talking about. It's the storage barn that's kind of down the road there. We have some pavement costs there. Again, this would be a nice to have. The priorities, again, this says one, but really that's a subjective thing. We kind of look at things sometimes in a vacuum with engineers and architects. But ultimately your guys' opinion matters. So if something is lesser or more of a priority, that really isn't a code related thing. If it's not a life safety thing, like a fire alarm or, smoke detector or things like that, we put something down, but it's a subjective thing that we could, obviously revise a little bit. Some of the building things were just patching some of the penetrations of the wall. Nice to have would be painting. And then again, fascia, gutter, again, making sure that stormwater gets away from the building. And then again, another nice to have is you ever wanted power at that building. It was abandoned at one point. So if you wanted to revive that, you could. So here the paving would be, about 58 grand. And then the building total to patch everything, and plus the new electrical service was about 25. So the totals sometimes are deceiving, again, just to put that out there. It's really the laundry list of things. The content is really what's the crux of what we're talking about. Just kind of like
The same qualifier there, Chris, with the pavement. Like if the town were to get updated pricing, we could certainly reevaluate that.
Yep. So then the community center, here we have the again, site kind of broken out separately. Again, sound like a broken record with the paving and things of that nature. There's also some other things about investigating the wells and addressing any issues there. There's also an old unused playground that, you could remove and restore. As you move into the building, the big ticket item here is, there's two really, would be the old building that's adjacent to that should say community center. I apologize. That's a mistake. Adjacent to the community center, to the town hall. So that building that's adjacent to the community center, we're saying to demolish that building. And then also there's an old foundation at the back of the site. So we're saying to demolish that as well. The MEP stuff is fairly minor here. I know you guys just did a renovation there, but this is the community center adjacency here. This big building that really is starting to deteriorate more and more, as probably everybody knows. So it's best to,
And I think I'd add that, the more concern is the use of the community center in the back area as a playground. You got little kids going on running around. You've got this vacant building, open doorways, collapsed roofs, exposed to the weather on the side. So to me, I look at this as like a nuisance and a safety hazard, as well as in the back, in the far back. Chris, I don't know if you have the aerial. Of the,
No, I don't have the aerial, but
there was the old, I think it was a Quonset hut or something in the back that was demolished, and the structure is gone, but the foundation is still there. And again, just mixing little kids in a play environment with attractive nuisances, lends itself to trouble. So that's mainly where we're coming from a safety standpoint.
Yep. Thanks, Tim. Moving on to the transfer station, a lot of pavement there. Really, this is just kind of breaking up into different areas. And then we also mentioned about removing, replacing the retaining wall, the Belgian block retaining wall. Again, this is just really helpful for the town as far as we got square footages so that you guys can kind of assess the areas and quantify the areas really.
Again, let me just add to that,
Yep.
Chris, that
Sure.
it's a full depth replacement. So oftentimes when we look at pavement, and it could be in rough shape or it could be in really bad shape. And oftentimes when it's in really bad shape, it means the surface underneath the pavement, the sub base, we call it, is either lacking or it needs sufficient drainage to keep water out so that it doesn't freeze. And oftentimes it's not just either overlaying fresh pavement over what's there, but it's really removing the failed pavement and augmenting the foundation, the sub base material. So those costs there again are prevailing wage rate, but they're at a full depth replacement, so that adds cost to it.
Yep. Thanks, Tim. And then, at the building, there's a deteriorated column to be replaced. Some of the column anchors, which are basically where the column is fastened to the foundation or the pier, is getting a little, and we have a picture of that. They're either getting rusted or breaking off. That would need to be replaced. Again, it'd be good to, paint some of these areas, and then there's a detached gutter that you would reinstall. The mechanical, electrical, plumbing aspect of this really is just more of an electrical issue because this is an open air kind of structure. Just some, replacing a broken light and upgrading the pull-up lights to LED. So again, that site total, a lot of pavement there. Building total has some nuts and bolts that, we would like to address. Again, here's that fastener from the foundation to the column. Again, the painting, you got some just peeling paint. It's always good to you could scrape prime paint just to, again, prolong some of the, just make the building, wear a little bit better. That's all. The transfer station office, fairly minor stuff here. One of the big items is really just, it's got a couple steps up to it. So, the ADA compliancy of a ramp, if you did have an employee that worked there that was on a wheelchair or needed crutches or something like that, you would have to provide a ramp. There is a missing ceiling in there. So if you wanted it to be a little more energy efficient, then you could provide the ceiling, some flooring as well, upgrading lighting there. So a total of about $7,000. You see that where the ceiling's needed, and then outside there's about 2 steps up. So you could potentially put a pretty small ramp there, but a ramp nonetheless if you needed it. Transfer station garage. So this is what Aaron, you kind of brought this up at the dog kennel here. So really, we are highly recommending that building. That building's in rough. With all due respect, it's in rough shape. We're saying to demolish that building and build a new one. You'd be spending a lot of money to get that up to code. As soon as you get guys like me and Tim involved and we go to design something or touch something, you got to bring it up to code. And, code is very stringent these days, and energy code is very stringent, and you got to be a physicist to understand it. So I don't even understand half the stuff sometimes, but you got to, what I'm getting at is that, what we're talking about before, some of the repairs there, just it got to the point where, all right, what are we talking about to replace this? Because the repair created quite a laundry list, which we have that laundry list, but for the sake of everyone's sanity, let's say that we'll, replace the building with a new heated, restroom facility. So we're talking about demolishing the existing one, providing a new one with a storage area, with, a kind of a storage pavilion area that would be open air and a restroom facility. Along with that, there's some septic issues as far as the whole entire septic system. Again, the septic system number is, pretty high. Working with Tim on that one is, kind of planning for the worst. We don't know the soil types out there. A little bit, again, we did the visual assessment, but if we want to move forward with something like that, we would have to dive a little deeper, and this number could scale back a little bit based on
Yeah, we don't know if it's a sand filter bed, if it can go in ground, or there a pump station required, but we try to present the worst case. And if we zoom back out from the town board perspective, when we look at these types of projects, and if you were going to determine there would be a capital project, oftentimes, you go to referendum or bond or what have you, the worst thing that can happen is to underestimate project costs so that you get into them and you find out that you don't have enough money. The trick is, from our perspective, we want to build in a financial cushion to the thought process so that, it's better to have money left at the end of the project than to be shortchanged. But the fine line is, we don't want to come up with ridiculous budget numbers that are non-starters for the thought process. So, all these need to be taken into consideration in the thought process. And, say, for instance, if the idea was to improve and put a new building at the transfer station, then the first step would be, let's do a little soils investigation. Let's see what's out there. And with all good hopes, that septic number could come down. But at the same time, we don't want to paint a rosy picture and then all of a sudden have a shocker on our hand that there's not enough money to finish a project. So that's kind of what these are, an order of magnitude budget numbers. So.
Thanks, Tim. So just a photo just to get you oriented. That's the store, the garage there. Moving on to the court building. Again, we got some site issues over there. Some of the paving is we have a photo there to show you. But again, some failure in the pavement that replaced. And like Tim said, this is full depth pavement. We also factor in some drainage where it may need stormwater drainage. Again, it is not only is that important on the building itself, but it's also important when hits the ground, and make sure that it flows away from the site and is properly dealt with. So it's about adding some new sidewalks, and then the front entrance would be needing a new concrete pad, and some of these have the Americas would the ADA implications to these. Building wise, at the older part of the building, some of that the existing foundation is older. It's a stone foundation. Repointing it and parging that is a good idea. Filling in some gaps at the building apron. Fixing some of the siding that has come loose, and then outside, just some finished carpet, VCT flooring and ceiling, upgrades and repairs. You get to the electrical plumbing aspect of this, and we'll get to there's some ADA stuff in here as well. And when I get to the next page, one of the bigger items is the ADA bathroom that's needed. That's a big number. You got to do a full renovation of that and potentially bump out the building a little bit to accommodate that. The other stuff, minor, upgrades to LEDs. And then, so your site total, a large number, all that paving isn't cheap, and then your building total is about 111,000. And then some photos of your, ADA bathroom that's needed, because that one's not ADA. And then just a little, snapshot of really the pavement condition here. just to get a
Another big thing there, Chris, is if you look at the road, you'll see sort of like a paved apron, like a ramp. And that road drainage is pitched directly toward our site. And I don't know, is this the only picture you have? But
Yeah.
the doorway to the court building there behind the middle car, so you could imagine that the road drainage is pitched away from the road toward the building, and it's almost, headed straight for the front door. So in our
Gentlemen, for your edification, they just repaved the road and raised it 2 inches last year.
yes, and that's what you're seeing, I believe, here is like a fresh pavement along the side. But it looked like they made it higher by doing that. So our thing was it should really address the runoff from the road onto the site. So
I just wanted to mention, Chris, it looks like the agenda said 20 minutes for the presentation. I was just wondering how much longer we have.
Yeah, I apologize. It's
No problem. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
one more building. That's it. Now we're done. I swear, I promise.
Thank you.
I want to be very sensitive of everyone's time. And goes, you got a long night ahead of you. So we're all wrapped up. Thank you for the time here. Really at the school, just repointing the stone foundation, and that's about it for your guys' purposes there. Just trying to maintain that building a little bit more. So that's all I have. I'm going to stop sharing now. If that's okay, and I guess open the floor to questions, or if you guys want to move on to the next agenda. I just want to thank you for your time today, and thank you for the opportunity to work with the town of Rochester.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for all the work you've done, and I will be sharing that presentation with everybody. It's too big a file to email in this current format, which is why I didn't share it with all of you, but we will get a copy to each of you. They also will provide us copies of all the pictures that they took. This was just a small sampling. There's probably hundreds of pictures that were taken.
yes.
And we can sort of chip away on it, but thank you very much, Tim, and for your work, and for your firm's work, and for your presentation.
All right.
And any of the board members have any specific questions they want to ask right now? If not, we can certainly revisit this later.
We've really been looking forward to the presentation, and now we can make some decisions. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next, I'm going to turn over the agenda to Rick Coombe. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it properly. Rick is from the town of Neversink, and he is chairman of the Coalition of Watershed Towns. Sort of why he's coming to present to us. We are a member, and discovered that we either were not billed or we missed paying our dues for last year, but they're asking for a significant increase in dues. And we are a very small part of the watershed is in our town. So in talking to Rick about what this group does for our town, we sort of said, why don't you come talk to the whole board yourself? So Rick, I'll turn it over to you if you can kind of go over what the organization does and why it's important for Rochester to be a member.
Perfect. I'll try to make it brief, as I sit through town board meetings as well, so I know how that works. So I'll try to be quick, but I have to give forgive me if I'm boring anybody with a very quick history lesson. But back in the late 1980s, 90s, the city of New York came out with watershed regulations for west of the Hudson that were very onerous on anybody that did anything within that, and agreed only a small portion of the town of Rochester is involved, but there was a group of farmers that got together and formed the Watershed Agricultural Council to fight the regulations from a agricultural perspective. And there was a group of municipal leaders, so just like yourselves and myself, that got together and formed what was called the Coalition of Watershed Towns. That out of that organization, with 40 plus towns, the counties, etc., they all bonded together and said, we're not going to take these regulations sitting down. We need to work together. We need to come up. And we agreed on a memorandum of understanding that was passed in 1997. I think I got my years right. I could be off by a year. I apologize if I am. And we've been operating under that memorandum of agreement. And in that, there were a lot of positives that came out. There was a mutual understanding of, you can't put us out of business. We need to remain economically viable. Yes, we need to protect your water, but they have to be rational. And if your expenses are irrational relative to what anybody else in the state would have to pay to do a stormwater prevention plan or a septic system, et cetera, we think you should pay for it. I mean, that's the gist of it, right? At least for the incremental amount. And as a result, what came out of that were some very strong programs now administered by the coalition, by the Catskill Watershed Corporation, the CWC. So they're the only two acronyms I'm going to do, but the CWT, which is the organization that is asking for the dues, fights the fight against the city. We have lawyers, and that's really the only expense we have. None of us are paid. We pay lawyers to fight the battles as we need to as a group. And the power comes from the people and the amount of towns that are all involved in that group. The CWC takes the proceeds that we have fought for example, septic repairs or the Catskill Fund for the Future, which we'll talk about very quickly, and administers those programs to residents watershed wide. So the CWC is actually, making it happen. The CWT fights the fight so that we can keep the political battle separate from the administrative battle, if that makes any sense to you. As a result, I called the CWC after Mike reached out to me and said, what has Rochester benefited from in the watershed? And you've only had about $40,000 of septic systems repaired for residents, but it's $40,000 that residents didn't have to pay. The CWC paid. More importantly, you've actually had $1.676 million, so over almost $1.7 million of loans from the Catskill Watershed Corporation, Catskills Funds for the Future. So organizations such as Minnewaska Realty, Art on Site Residency and Retreat, Westwind Estates, and the Starlight Motel have all availed themselves of these low interest loans, through the Catskill Watershed Corporation. And I'm here to say that I know every town has a budget and it makes sense, but as we lose member towns, we lose a lot of our bargaining power. We're fighting a behemoth in the city of New York. Today, most of those conversations are cordial. We're working most recently on extending their new watershed permit and trying to get land acquisition, which is something they've done an awful lot, to be much smaller parcels. We'd like them to buy land right along a stream and a riparian buffer where it really had water quality effect, not just buy a 300-acre parcel and take it out of the ability of any municipality to use it in the future. So those are the type of things that we're fighting for our communities for, and we've done a bad job of telling everybody what we did. But we would hope that you would continue, and I'm happy to, I don't want to go on very long, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have. But we would appreciate you continuing to have the confidence in us to help fight that. And there are programs that residents of the town of Rochester have availed themselves of that have come from these actions.
Okay, any board members have any questions?
Yes, I do. Is the amount of dues the same for all towns?
It's not.
Even-
It's graduated based on watershed, effects. So dues range depending on the size of the town, the amount of land mass, and population.
What about criteria in relation to the watershed itself or with relation to the city? Suffice to say, the aqueduct area was covered by the city and the town of Warwarsing, and you've given loans to people here from the town of Rochester, but quite honestly, Warwarsing has certainly benefited more. How are we designated with something like that, or the town of Olive or Neversink, where the town actually, has the reservoir in it?
We are all paying more. I just signed the dues letters and I don't have every town listed, so that's a problem for me right this minute, but give me 1 second here. I can tell you that the dues range from $750 to $1,500 to $2,250. So in all cases, it's not, in all due respect, it's not a tremendous amount of money. I mean, I know every dollar matters, and I just sat through a building presentation that talked about, needing, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I understand that, but we've already graduated it. I think the challenge that we have is if we go down to a level that is so low, everybody's going to want to be there. So we have tried to set our situation and maintain it. We are not sitting on a tremendous amount of money. Our balance is about a little over $90,000. We have two major situations. There's a water supply permit, which is issued by the state, and a filtration avoidance agreement. And both those come up this year, and that one comes up this year and one comes up in 2 years. So they are our next two opportunities to fight. Most recently, the National Academies of Science came in and did a year-long study on how the programs in the watershed have worked and what has happened and where should we go and what's the watershed look like for the future. And it was very interesting because land acquisition was not a huge piece of it. The septic program was, fixing a failing septic and somebody's in the watershed makes a lot of sense. But these relationships have been hard fought over many, many years. And today they are generally positive. So we don't have to lawyer up continuously. But if we want to, I'll give you a real quick example, a streamside acquisition. So you have something along a creek and they want to buy a little piece of land. Our argument is they should buy just the riparian stream side, not the whole parcel, right? Just the part that would be in the floodplain, let's call it. But today, regulations wouldn't allow them to do that. I'm not familiar with town of Rochester zoning, but let's say you have a minimum acre parcel, you have to front on a public road. The stream section doesn't front on a public road. We've been working with the city to negotiate a law that would allow them to subdivide that off. And we would go to the member towns and say, hey, please change your zoning law. If and only if there's a contract with the city of New York for a streamside parcel, you could be exempt from the zoning laws, to create a non-conforming parcel, maybe two, right? Because you might lose a piece along the stream and the other, but you're still in a better position, for water quality and or flooding protection, et cetera. So those are the types of things we're using this money for. Nobody is getting paid other than that and a nominal administrative fee, which typically is a couple $100 from Delaware County to send out notices and a few things like that. So it's not, so long answer, sorry.
Do you have a dollar figure for the town of Rochester?
I don't in front of me.
We are at the 750. We are at the low end of those three scales that he said.
No, I meant not the $1.50. I'm sorry, I wasn't very clear in that, and I do apologize for that. That was like a double-edged sword. I apologize. I meant a dollar figure for what, at this point in time, the coalition has given or in loans and things in the town of Rochester.
In the town of Rochester, and I want to be clear here because I don't want this to go the wrong way. The CWT does not give loans. We fight for the administration of programs that are run by the Catskill Watershed Corporation. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm not saying the CWT gave loans. The CWC gave loans, which were programs that came out of the fight the CWT had. But to answer that question directly, $1.676 million has been funded in 4 Catskill Fund for the Future loans to the town of Rochester. And $39,883 was funded to 4 septic systems in the town of Rochester.
And those septics would have been impacted by something done by the city, correct?
They would have been septics that were failing and needed repair and or improvements. I would say since one was 5,700, I don't have names, so I can't, but one was $5,700, one was 7,300. They're relatively small. The 16,267 was probably a new system for somebody that is in the watershed in that small portion of Rochester that received a brand new system, compliments of the Catskill Watershed Corporation, effectively the city of New York for the battle.
But that would have been due to something done or
no, it would have just simply been a water quality issue. The septic system was failing. It was flagged as failing. They applied to the Catskill Watershed Corporation and said, hey, I live in the New York City watershed. I happen to be in the town of Rochester because it's watershed wide.
Gotcha.
My system's failing. Please design and build me a new one and write me a check for it.
Some of that B is based on just age of the septic system, assuming that it will fail in a period of time, so.
Rick, thank you very much. I'm very supportive of this membership. I'm curious what part of the town is in the watershed.
I should have gotten a map for you, but it's a very small part up around Neversink. The way up on Ulster County, excuse me, in the far upper corner, gets into the Roundout watershed.
Nice, thank you.
Somebody that knows Rochester better than me. I used to work for the cable company many, many moons ago and spent many a time at the town hall talking about.
Maybe the extension of voting district 2.
Jagerville.
Yeah,
Jagerville.
Exactly. That's where I was trying to get to. So, I apologize. And the small part that's in the Tri-Valley School District as well, right? So a few
Correct.
hours.
If our dues for this, our annual dues would be $750.
$750 for 2020 and then $750 again for 2021 because we have not paid for last year. And that's how it was discovered when the secretary of the organization reached out to me and notified me that we noticed you didn't pay your dues last year. And that started the conversation between Rick and I invited him to come speak tonight, so.
And what did, someone mentioned there was an increase. What did it used to be?
It was 500.
500.
Okay.
In 2019, it was 500.
Okay.
It was 500 forever, and we honestly were concerned. Our budget actually, what kind of happens here is you build up some money and then you have a fight, and honestly, it doesn't take very long for lawyers and engineers and experts to consume $90,000. I imagine you paid a little bit of money for your study you just had done. And we were concerned going into these renewal of the water supply permit and the FAD that we build up the balance slightly. So we did the dues increase. As I said, it's all out of, the municipal service idea. None of us are getting paid. We all go once a month. The meetings are open to the public if anybody ever wants to learn. What we haven't done a good job, as I said candidly, is telling our story, which is something that we need to do a better job of throughout the watershed as town boards turn over. And Neversink is almost 100% in the watershed. And I can honestly tell you why they know why we exist. They still don't know what we do. And I've been on that board for 20 years, right? So, but the older generation that was here, through the battles have retired, so we have to work on that. But the strength is in numbers, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Rick, and we'll certainly talk further about this. And I appreciate your time and thank you for sitting through our early portion of our meetings.
It's all good. I learned and appreciate the assets, and it's a challenge to run government every step of the way. But thank you all for your service. And if anybody has questions, Mike has my information. Feel free to reach out.
Great. I'll share that with the board members if anybody wants. So. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, moving on with our agenda. Public comment. Kate, did you have any written comment?
I did not have any written comments for public
Okay.
comment. I did pass a correspondence from Rick Jones to the board to review.
Yep. So I will ask Mr. Jones and Mr. Pinsky, you are both on. Do either of you wish to comment tonight?
Mike, this is Rick. I think the letter that I sent, not to go through it, it's quite long, but I think the letter that I sent was not until this morning. So I think it speaks for itself, and the board members can read it at their leisure. It of course has to do with the Maybrook Lodge project and whether it should be handled as a EEO zone or in the current zoning. So the letter is really self-explanatory, and your agenda is long. I don't want to take up any more time.
No, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Rick, I'd like to thank you for the letter because it does explain everything in great detail and lays it out in a very well-phased plan and what has gone on. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm looking
new to
forward to
that,
seeing
so.
it. looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, B, at the, what do you call it, the Gateway meeting.
Gateway
Thank
meeting.
you.
It was very helpful, Rick. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Zorian, do you wish to say anything?
No, I actually wrote a letter to B, and it's essentially partially it's the same thing. So I agree with what Rick wrote.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay, moving on then to the attorney for the town report, Mary Lou. Anything to update? You're muted.
No,
There you
I'm
go.
unmuted now. Just that next week I will have that amendment to the emergency/pandemic plan to all of you. I wanted to get it to you this week, but I'm frazzled. It's just been that kind of week. So you'll have it next week.
Okay. And Kate, town clerk and tax collector report, anything?
So for tax collect, I'm not muted. Okay, tax collector, the tax warrant was satisfied with the town. 1.86 million was paid to the Department of Finance, and we have a balance of $1,817,774.31 left to collect. And paid reminder notice will go out in the end of April. For the month of February, we collected $831,782.48. For town clerk, I did receive resignations from Robert Barringer, Michael Lone, and Chris Klitzner. I wasn't sure how the board wanted to handle the Klitzner resignation, but I just wanted to state on the record that I did receive those three.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, Jeff, highway superintendent report.
Yes, other than, I see you had listed on the agenda, of course, we'll be getting the quotes for the Millhook Road Bridge on Monday, I believe at 2:00. We'll have
Correct.
that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the cost of that will be. But other than that, I don't really have too much to share this evening. Everything is, other than Mother Nature not being too kind to us lately with snow and wind and everything else you can think of, it's been rather calm. So that's really all I have.
Okay, well, thank you as always to you and your staff for all the work they do. This last windstorm, luckily, it pretty much spared us except for that little portion of Whitfield Road for a short period of time, but I think that was the only road closure we had. We were a lot better than Marbletown and Olive, that's for sure, but
Oh yeah, that
yeah.
is for sure. Absolutely. Yep. No
so.
doubt.
And for the board's information, the Millhook Bridge bid are due at noon on Monday. We've been in contact with Medenbach and Eggers' office on a fairly regular basis. They have posted answers to the questions from the various contractors. The bids are due at noon. Kate will be opening them by Zoom meeting at 2 p.m. on Monday. If any board members want to Zoom in to observe those, I'll be happy to send you the link. It's not going to be a discussion. We're just going to open them. Kate will announce them, and then we will turn them over to Medenbach and Eggers and request that they review them and for accuracy and for completeness, and then make a recommendation to the board. So that's where we will be on that. Okay, the supervisor's report, normally it would be filed with the town clerk today. Due to illness from the bookkeeper, it was not generated today. She is likely to be back in tomorrow, and I will present it to Kate tomorrow. It also means I did not have it to email to all of you. As soon as I get it, we will email it to all of you, so my apologies on that. The financials for the month of February, the town clerk's receipts received were $28,613.08. The expenditures, abstract 14 of 2020. The general fund was $4,730.01. The highway fund was $123.24. The grant fund was $860. For abstract 2 of 2021, the general fund was $48,266.35. The highway fund, $55,408.12. The street lighting fund, $436.99. And the grant fund, $635.32. We, Karen and I met online with the software company that we use, the Enhanced Business System software. We did an hour training class with them. I think I may have told you about that. Both of us learned a lot in that hour of how to utilize the system, learned some mistakes that have been done in the past and how to correct them. We did actually manage to find a bug in the software that they have since fixed, because there was something that happened on our end that nobody could explain, including them, but they resolved it for us and corrected that problem. And so we continue to resolve it. We are still getting a little bit caught up with new budget codes into the budget. The money is being put into the budget. It's just we haven't finished getting all the new budget codes properly entered. That will happen through the month of March, and by April we will have an accurate accounting by budget code, meaning our 3-digit budget code. For now, they're being put in placeholders in the general 0.1, 0.2, 0.4 line until we get the breakouts resolved. Supervisors update. We received, actually first, I already gave you the town clerk's report from the building department. The month of February, they did $9,960, excuse me, $9,930.35. Very busy month. They are working well together with Courtney and Alyssa is learning very quickly. Becky continues to work with them with training classes through this coming weekend. And that will be the 1-month period. I'll take stock of it with Jerry and Becky and Alyssa and decide if we need to continue that training for another week or two. But they seem to be doing really well. It was a lesser month for the zoning or for the planning board and zoning board office. It was only $186.27. We received our sales tax payment for the months of October 2020 through the end of January 21. We received a check for $51,897.71. Very good news. I think, and I have to, that number gets entered in our 2021 budget, but then when the accountants do the AUD, the October through December will be reversed back to the 2020. That was 46,000, just a little shy of 46,500. I think that amount plus what we have already received, we will be either at what was budgeted or just slightly less, but not a significant loss in what we budgeted for sales tax. We budget pretty conservatively, so I think we should be okay. Supervisors and mayors received notice from the county legislature of the 2021 annual agricultural district inclusion. That is through the month of March. Anybody you know who is in, who utilizes their land for agricultural purposes or who rents or leases their land for agricultural purposes can be included, can apply to be included in the ag district. This is different than the taxation. That's a separate program where this is based on the usage, not the dollar value of the property. And Aaron, I'm sure you can speak much more eloquently about this than I can, but it's a program that we support really strongly. And the majority of Ag District 3 is in the town of Rochester, and I believe we are still either number 1 or number 2 in acres in farming in the county. So it's an important program. Anybody you know, if they have any questions, either send them to the county planning department or send them to my office, and I can put them in touch with the county planning department of how to apply.
Aaron, do you know how large is the minimum size of something like this?
I don't actually think there's a real minimum size that they consider a lot of different things with it. So it's it's a very simple application process, and then you go through a review.
Cool. Thank you.
We have filed our recycling report with the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency and also with the DEC. I have sent you copies of that. If you notice, there are 3 different ones filed for the RRA. They asked this year that a separate one be filed for each venue. And we have never filed before for the highway garage, but in talking with the recycling coordinator, she said, do they recycle motor oil or anything like that? I said, yes. So I found out from Jeff the amount of what we did there. So that is now recorded. Also, we have the bin at the community center where we have that contract with St. Pauli Textile where they collect textiles and clothing. They provided an annual report to us of the number of tons that they recovered, and that was reported. Next year, we will report the cellophane that we're collecting there at the community center. So that is why you see 3 different reports. I sent them to you as I believe one PDF. I just ganged them together, but and then obviously the bulk of the transfer station is the bulk of our recycling. Electronics, we have never done a good job of keeping track because we have a vendor who comes and collects it. There's no cash that transacts or no money that transacts. We just collect it and he comes and takes it. He doesn't charge us. We don't charge for the pickup of them, but we are going to, I have now a record. We just had them come. We had a large amount of electronics that had gathered, and he came and collected them, and we will now monitor that more accurately for 2021. And that's it on that report. The monthly correspondence, we received from the Marbletown First Aid Unit, their financial statement, which is a part of the conversation we had with them about possibly funding them. I'll be coming to you at the workshop meeting to ask, and I'm Mary Lou, I'll be asking you to work with me on it. I'm probably going to take the agreement we have with Cohasset Accord and just tailor it for the Marbletown First Aid Unit, excuse me. That the financial statement is one of the things that we require of the agencies that we fund, the nonprofit agencies. So take a look at that if you have any questions. We did discover they cover approximately 100 residences in the town of Rochester, this agency. We have finalized our grant application our grant award with the New World Foundation for the Lifeboats HV grant. Sent that to them, and it has been forwarded to their president for final review, and did hear back by email that it was accepted and that they will be sending us the first installment of payment very soon. So thank you, Chris and Aaron, and especially thank you, Madeline, for writing that grant application. We did receive a letter from the Catskill Watershed Corporation. Now this as what Mr. McComb was saying, this is the CWC, not this Coalition Watershed of Towns. This Catskill Watershed Corporation, we are a member of by virtue of being in that there are no dues for that organization. That is the government side it's a private corporation, but it's made up of all the communities. The Catskill, the watershed towns is the advocacy group that essentially does the lobbying. They talk about options regarding land purchases, but it's more based on villages and things like that. We are not really much in the foundation, and because we have no designated hamlets within the west of the Hudson watershed. So this letter is just to sort of notify us of kind of what's going on. I will be asking you for a resolution later to elect the Ulster County representative or one of the Ulster County's representatives on their board of directors who is up for reappointment as of April. So the ballot must be turned in by March 22nd. The assessor report from Mr. Dunham. He is reviewing open building permits. He'll be inspecting properties and updating the records and assessments as necessary. All the properties are assessed as of their status of March 1st, 2021. The exemption deadline was March 1st. He would like to thank the town clerk's office and their employees for all the help while the assessor aide has been out with her medical concern. They took many applications and assisted the property owners. And so Kate, thank you to you and your staff for all the help. During the month of March, the assessor will be reviewing and processing those applications. And the COVID-19 report, I neglected to get to the website today to see the accurate numbers. Right now, the numbers are dropping significantly in Ulster County. Ulster County is now getting much more of a shipment of the vaccine and are able to serve more people with the first round of vaccines through Kingston. And I don't know if they're still doing it in Ellenville or not. I know they're doing it still in Kingston. Does anybody have any information if they
Yeah,
are?
Mike, they just opened up the Ulster Community College. Actually, my mom got her shot there today, and you can
Wonderful.
schedule, and they're working through pretty quickly.
Good, good. I have been told that toward the end of the evening, at each of the sites, if they have, because of the expiration date of some of these vaccines, that people can show up on a first come, first served. If they have leftovers, that they will serve people. It has happened in Saugerties apparently, and can happen in other places. I make no promises, but I have seen and heard of firsthand occurrences where that did occur. To give you a quick update, the Ulster County Transportation Council request for planning projects where we submitted the 4455 corridor with the combined with the town of Gardner. In February at the Transportation Council meeting, that project was approved to be listed as with, so that will be now moved forward. The planning department will take management of that study, but the study that we recommended was included. Also, the intersection that we included of the Boyce Mill Road 209 intersection was also included in their more comprehensive master plan of looking at intersections throughout the county, but they did include that intersection on the list to be studied. So, and the third application that we had a hand in, which was the O&W trail signage that all the municipalities who make up the O&W trail applied for jointly, it was also accepted, and they have even expanded that to signage for all trails in Ulster County. So we were 3 for 3 on that grant cycle. The bridge, the Boyce Mill Bridge, is still in review stage. The cost of the 2 applications that they received exceeds the amount of funding available right now. They are attempting to find more funding so they can fund both bridges because they agree that both are in need, and they're trying to resolve that through the state and through the federal funding. And hopefully we'll have some good news on that in the very near future. IT update, we have replaced in 2020, we replaced 3 of the computer stations. We have 8 more on order now. I signed the purchase order over to Fish, and they are on order. They're being bought at the same state bid contract that we bought the other ones on. As soon as they get here, we will be replacing the computers in the assessor's office, the computers in the code enforcement office, and we will be adding an extra terminal there for the part-time clerk that we have. So we'll have a total of 3 computers in there in that office. We will be replacing 2 within the recreation department and 1 computer within the planning and zoning office. So that will be the 8 computers that we're replacing. We budgeted for that. Once that is, they also, Fish completed the process of getting the Wi-Fi system set up in the community center. There is still a little bit of software updating that they have to do there, but they finished installing the equipment once we got Spectrum to get involved, to get us the lines that we needed, an additional ISP line that we didn't have there. And just a reminder, we have 2 public hearings coming up. One is on next Thursday, the 11th at 6:30 p.m. And that one is about the short-term transient rentals. And then another public hearing, March 23rd, a Tuesday. I think that's Tuesday. Also at 6:30, and that is on the addition of the Natural Heritage Plan, the Natural Resource Inventory, and the Historic Inventory, to add those 3 documents to the comprehensive plan. And that's all I have. So department updates, anybody?
I can go real
Sure.
quick. For the library, the Stone Ridge Library, we actually still have 79 Town of Rochester memberships available.
Okay.
So that's, I think, maybe a little bit more than usual this time of year. So we should try to get the word out about that so that those are utilized in our community. And then at the transfer station, I know a week ago we had a really long discussion about it. It's been nice this week working with Jeff. He's gotten a lot done, including implementing a safety vest policy for employees while they're there. He's working with Harry on building sorting tables for our recycling stations, based on a model that I saw at the Woolworthing transfer station when I was there a few weeks ago. And we chatted today a little bit about the recycling ambassador idea that I've floated a couple times. So that's, something that could be useful during this time. But we also chatted about just sort of having him, see how the month goes. And then I'm hoping that we can spend some time at our workshop meeting discussing the transfer station as a whole. And one of the things that I'll be bringing up then, which is kind of more like I think kind of a more exciting thing, is I have a meeting scheduled with our sign rep next Wednesday. Jeff and I are going to walk around the transfer station, talk about the signage that we need, and then he'll give me an idea of how much it'll cost, and we can, if the board is interested, I can share that at our workshop meeting.
Great.
The one thing I wanted to say is, thinking about signs, when I was driving to the town hall the other day, I noticed that our sign at the park is very worn. And I was curious if we should just ask him how, like what it would cost to redo that sign as well. So that was just, he's going to be here in the town on next Wednesday. So I just thought about that, but that was it.
Okay. Adam, were you done, Aaron, or anything else?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, thank you. Adam?
Thanks, Mike. So just a couple of quick things. Again, congratulations again, another great month with Ashley and the rec department. The Bags to Benches program is going off swimmingly. So again, thanks to the Lions Club also for helping us out. We have our St. Patrick's Day to-go lunches in lieu of our very, very popular normal luncheon. So again, it's to-go lunches right from the rec center. You have to sign up for a time slot. So you call the rec department directly at 626-2115. Switching over to the constabulary. Court's partially open. The constabulary answered 8 calls for service and other duties in February. These include 5 neighbor to neighbors and quality of life complaints, 2 traffic complaints, 1 on towpath, 1 on Whitfield Road, 2 environmental complaints, Rock Hill Road and Queens Highway, 2 building department violations. There's 0 new court cases open, 27 court proceedings remain open, 0 court proceedings closed due to COVID-19 court closures. Latest numbers are unavailable. And just interesting occurrences during the month, complaints regarding trespass on residents' property are down again, although complaints regarding junk cars on properties are on the rise. Complaints regarding the garbage being dumped on private property and on several local roads are still ongoing. Neighbor-to-neighbor complaints have increased with this month, with all of them being diffused successfully and without further incident. Many are ongoing and would be resolved next month. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we continue to have limited direct contact with complainants and a proportional increase in direct phone calls. So Mike, that's everything I have right now.
Okay, Adam, one quick thing. If you can get me the photos of the 3 playground choices, I want to work next week, and I apologize. I intended to get it this week, but it just didn't happen. We'll get it out there somehow between Kate and I with the informal poll we talked about. So then, and we'll try to close that out by the workshop meeting in March, and then we can have further discussion about where to head next on the playground equipment.
Not a problem.
So great, thank you. B, anything? I know you've got the court
Yes.
presentation, but
That's okay. The court presentation was, I believe, sent to everyone. And what we have and what we have discovered, Erin had discovered, actually, I can't take credit for that. But what she discovered was the months of May and June, we do not have the report from the state of New York, the actual letter that we would get from the state of New York. Karen has called for that and is awaiting some answer. That's not something that we can get, or I can even get as court liaison. And if we do not get this, Mike, if I'm correct, there'll be a cover letter coming from you stating that although the courts have paid their side of this, the money remains in the A fund. The actual New York comptroller has not been paid yet.
The short answer is we did not get our bill from the state for May and June. So the money was turned over from our local court to the supervisor's office. During the COVID, they got behind. They were very late in billing us. So I'm guessing that eventually we will, and we certainly in our letter to them will alert them to the fact that we did not receive that, because they will come looking for that money. It's not a matter of if, it is a when.
A when, yes.
So, and that money is in our fund. It is in our bank account. It's just waiting for them to send us the bill for the portion that we owe them. And we don't know what that portion is until they tell us. So we can't even guess and make a payment. So, but thank you, B and Aaron. Other than that, and it is on our agenda for resolution.
The only other question I had was from Justice Shaheen asking how much was left in the grant. And he's been given that number.
Yep.
And that was basically it. And we do have an outlet that's not working for Mr. Hasbrook, I understand. And it may just be a matter that somebody tripped a breaker and just didn't look.
Yeah, well, we actually found out the answer. Apparently, Mr. Hasbrook was using an outlet and it stopped working, and anyway, I was notified of it today. It was a trip breaker, but it is an electrical problem of why it has tripped, and I will be speaking with Mr. Warner and getting him to come in and look at it. There is another
Thank you.
outlet that is on the back side of the annex that has never functioned, I'm told. So while he's in there, I'll have him look at both of those. We know the reason. Well, we don't know the reason, but we do know that it was indeed a trip breaker. But when it resets, it trips again. So there is a fault somewhere.
It's not there. Yeah, there's something wrong.
Yep. So, but. And I was just made aware of that this morning by text. So thank you, B. Chris, anything?
Yep, I think the ECC is doing some great work. It's wonderful to see their attendance. A lot of people are attending and engaging. They have guest speakers like Chris Spatz last month, who came to talk about wildlife and wildlife corridors. Their speaker series is really developing for the whole spring and into the summer. In March, they have Mark Dietrich talking about spring bird watching. I'll be talking about the Watershed Education Park in April, and Madeline and I will be meeting before then to make sure we engage the community and gather important feedback, not only beforehand, but at the April presentation. I'm also meeting with Madeline this weekend about potential funding opportunities for the Watershed Park, and I'll keep the board posted on that before applying for anything. In May, Laura Chavez Silverman is talking about an introduction to foraging. In June, Judith Karpova is talking about energy efficiency. And in July, in the speaker series, John Thompson will be talking about invasive insects. And also, Madeline is already making great progress with the climate smart community. She's starting to put together a task force and has reached out to Erin and me for feedback. And we will also give you an update next month on that.
Great.
Thanks.
And just to build off that, I was told, Chris, and you can probably confirm that there were 55 people at the last third Thursday presentation on Zoom, and that's amazing. We certainly would never have gotten that many people to show up at town hall, so that's an amazing number. And I've had conversation with Ashley and Madeline, and have made the decision that we will be doing Earth Day this year. We canceled it last year because of the COVID. We will be sponsoring it. We will be, telling people to mask and social distance, but normally people go out as family groups, and they are living already as family groups. And there was a lot of disappointment when we canceled it last year. So we will indeed be doing it again this year in April. One other quick thing on involving environment. Because we took the Climate Smart Communities Pledge last year, Europa McGovern from the Department of Environment reached out to me, not knowing that we had applied for the Lifeboats grant. And Bard College is doing, as their graduate environmental studies program, has a partnership with the county Department of Environment, and they asked them to find 2 municipalities where the graduate students, working in teams of, I believe, 4, will do an analysis of our town and our existing documents, our comprehensive plan, our zoning laws, and make recommendations of gaps or things that we're doing very well. There is absolutely zero cost to the town. It's more a partnership of the county and the college. And we were asked, and the town of Ulster is the other group that is doing it. They will be getting the information from me throughout the month of March, and then they'll be working on it through April, and they will be coming back to us in early May before they leave school for the semester, and doing a report to us. So It's essentially free consultancy, and we're giving a hand in future environmentalists. As I said, there's no cost to the town. There's no obligation to do anything with the results. It's just more information. So I said thank you very much and accepted that opportunity. One thing to report on the Historic Preservation Commission. They are working on trying to publicize the rail trail and the importance of the trail in the history of Rochester with the old D&H Canal. Deb Medenbach, one of the new members, has come up with this idea. She was a member of the founding member of the Trail Committee way back when. And she was going to work with local artists. And Jeff and I have talked about this. We're dead trees along the trail. When we remove them, we're going to leave a large stump, and they are going to invite artists to come in and create artwork out of the stumps that remain. We'll cut them at like 4 to 5 feet, so we leave them a substantial amount. And it will be, they at one time had an art along the trail exhibit, but sadly, there was instances of vandalism. We sort of felt that if it's a stump, it would be less likely that it would be vandalized. So the HPC is kind of spearheading this and working with the Trail Committee. And Jeff, at some point, Wilton would like to get with you and myself and Flynn O'Connor and walk the trails and kind of flag the trees that you think would need to come down on a regular basis anyway in the spring. So when we do cut them, we would just leave a larger stump, and then the artists can come in and create. I think it's a great idea. It's a great way to get some interest along the trail. And again, no cost to us for the project. So
Yeah, he called me today, and he said he was going to get with Flynn to see when he could get together, and then he wanted to walk and look for some ash trees that we could cut. So I'm just awaiting a phone call back from
Great.
him, and then we'll get it all coordinated.
sounds good. And they're looking at that, I think, sometime in June, I think. So, there's a little time left, but it was, we're just sort of slowly coordinating now from the beginning. Oh, we lost B.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
I just want to say, because I ended up having lunch with Ashley today, and everyone in the rec department also liked option 2 on the park equipment. So that was cool. And I just want to get it out there now, because our next meeting's not until April 1st, that they plan on April 3rd having the Easter Bunny tour the town of Rochester.
Thank you. I
So,
forgot all about that.
Yeah, to have everyone get ready to look for the Easter Bunny. And then during spring break, people can sign up to have photos taken with the Easter Bunny. So look for that, more to come.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to thank our rec department for all the work they're doing. They're really doing an amazing job. Okay. Town board members, anybody have anything they'd like to bring up before we move on?
Mike,
Yep.
just that I think our buildings condition survey, I think we really got our money's worth. Like I said, I know we got to dig into that a lot deeper, but it looks like we got a good value on that. A lot of work for not a lot of money. So I think they did a nice job.
They did a very nice job, and I will be sharing all that with you. What they gave me originally was a 36 megabyte file, which was not really shareable. They distilled it down into that report that we saw tonight, but we will get a much more detailed spreadsheet of much more of a list, and then Jeff and I can kind of pick through, and a large number of those items. Tim warned me we would see sticker shock, and he was not wrong. But many of those will be fractions of that cost if we do it in-house with painting, the paving. Much of it can be done with just us paying material. So anything we choose to do. So we'll work through that and come back with some recommendations to the board of where we head. We've already knocked off the fire alarm system and a couple others that were on the list I noticed, because they did that survey, I think in October or November. So a couple other things have been addressed already since that time. B, did you have anything you want to bring up under board member time?
All I wanted to say is I apologize, but Mike, when you get home, you want to watch for down trees. We're getting some very, very, very bad wind gusts here, and it may knock me out again.
Thank you. Appreciated. Moving on to discussion items. I put the economic enterprise overlay. I just wanted to give you a quick update. We are having the Gateway meeting scheduled, is scheduled tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Mary Lou and B and myself will be there. Also from the town will be Jerry Davis, Code Enforcement Officer, Marin and Rick Jones from the Planning Board. So Rochester will be well represented. The applicant will have his team. I believe from the County Planning Department, we'll have Dennis Doyle and Rob Leibowitz, the County Planner and the County Planning Director. And we will most likely have Department of Health and DOT there. I didn't hear back from Dennis if he was able to get anybody from DEC, but that's the bulk of the people. I want to say I read Mr. Jones' letter and I don't disagree. When I originally suggested this as an EEO to the applicants, they were looking for a much higher density than what was allowed under traditional zoning, which is why I made them aware of this opportunity. And that was last fall, early fall, when we had that conversation. I spoke with Mary Lou about it today. I think we owe it to at least have the Gateway meeting tomorrow, see where we go. If we determine that there's no zoning, there's no benefit to the zoning change, to the overlay, then by all means, we should just say, you should just go to the planning board. This was never meant to usurp the planning board's review authority. It's not meant to sidestep anything. It was just the fact that we have an applicant who wants to do a substantial number of rental housing units. And at the beginning stages, didn't really know what he wanted and how many. And so he explored this option. So I don't really want to get into too much more discussion about it tonight. We'll see what comes out of the Gateway meeting tomorrow, but I just wanted to keep you in the loop of where we stand on it. And that's, so
And
anybody, sorry, Mary Lou, go ahead.
And, you know, I think the Gateway is valuable even just for the planning board. So even if we say, oh no, they've reduced their project and they don't need to do this EEO, I think this is a good project for a Gateway meeting, and it's going to be useful either way to get the input from all the other agencies.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it because I never did one with the ZBA. It wasn't anything we did.
Yeah, these are fairly
Yeah, it's
new
very-
within the last 4 or 5 years the county started doing them, but it's,
Yeah, and it's unusual to have a ZBA application that, you know,
Exactly,
sometimes
exactly. So-
something will need a variance as well as everything between the planning board.
right,
And then, you know, we might have a ZBA member there, but that's very rare.
yeah.
So B, now you have something to do tomorrow.
Like I
Retire-
already did
Yeah, I
in.
know.
Okay, anybody else want to add to that? If not, we'll move on. The next item, it was more, again, informational. You remember, we have had many correspondences from this company who has been very aggressive, not in a bad way, just about talking to us about buying out our lease for the 2 cell towers. They have proposed a new proposal to us as of, you know, he sent it to me February 16th. Take a look at it. Interestingly enough, the email chain that he has continued to respond on has their previous proposal if you look toward the back, so you can compare it side by side. See what you think. We can have further conversation at the workshop meeting about it if you want to. If you all look at it and say, no, we've already decided. He understands that we have made a decision, but he just keeps coming back and saying, what about this? So I feel I owe it to him to at least bring it to you guys. So I will say the lump sum payment probably is not you not that great a deal, but the signing bonus of extending the lease is not a bad idea. So something to think about. So take a
Just
look.
want to look at the numbers versus what
Yep.
they're giving us. Yeah.
Agreed. And so take a look and we'll talk about it again at the workshop meeting in the end of the month. Okay, moving forward then on to resolutions, so we can hopefully wrap the meeting up in the next 15 minutes here. So action on the minutes, I'm asking for a resolution to accept the minutes of the February 4th regular meeting, the February 11th special meeting, and the 25th workshop meeting. The workshop meeting was amended with a couple changes that I requested the clerk put in.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Kate, if you do a roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Nowen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen DePew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next, acceptance of donations, and I have to add one that came in at the last minute. It's the town of Rochester accepts donations of $124.17 from St. Pauli's Textile Inc., $100 from Mel and Elaine Tapper, and $15 from Sally Schultz, SHULTS. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Kate, roll call.
Councilwoman Nowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen DePew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. The next, and the reason it was left as a blank is people had until the end of today to swear their oaths. We have one person who did not get in time. So the town board reappoints Stephen Lopez to the Recreation Commission as per the original 2021 appointment term. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please, Kate.
Councilwoman Nowen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen DePew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next, this is a resolution to amend Resolution 248 of 2020. This is the 2021 Accord Speedway permit. The resolution, the town board received requests from Accord Speedway for one additional racing date and one additional rain date, and amends a portion of Resolution 248, 2020 to state, it will say the town board further accepts the racing schedule as presented for 38 actual racing dates and 28 potential rain dates. Dates listed as rain dates may be utilized only to replace a rained out approved event date so as to allow racing. This is to allow racing on May 11th, 2021, and a rain out date of May 12th, 2021. They still have 2 more days they could potentially add to meet their maximum of 40. I'll make that resolution. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Kate, roll call vote, please. Or, I'm sorry, any questions? Okay, sorry, Kate, roll call vote.
Nowen,
Aye.
Councilman Hagen DePew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. I apologize. I have to add 2 resolutions that cropped up after I made the agenda. So the first is to authorize the supervisor to request an extension, a 30-day extension of the filing of the annual update document, otherwise known as the AUD, and to send the request to the Office of the State Comptroller.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
If there's any questions, this is the norm. We're given 90 days because of the size of our population of our town. They grant a 30-day extension if you need it, and I don't know anybody who doesn't ask for it. So it's a kind of a formality. Kate, roll call vote.
Councilman Nowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen DePew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. The next, inadvertently, there was an invoice that was left off our February vouchers. This was an invoice from Slotnick Signs and Designs for $1,350. This was for, he created and built the Hamlet signs that have been, some have been delaminated. So I'm asking for a resolution to allow the supervisor to prepay this voucher at $1,350 to Slotnick Signs and Designs, and it will be placed in the March audit, the March vouchers for audit. I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And for the board to clarify, this is coming out of the Historic Preservation Commission's budget.
Thank you.
Okay, Kate, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depue,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, correspondence to the Unified Court System. The town board authorized the town supervisor to send a copy of the audit of the Justice Court records for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2020 to the State of New York Unified Court System. B, I think you should make that motion.
I will, but I would like to add with a cover letter from the town supervisor.
That's
If I
fine
may.
with me. No problem. Aaron, you want to second it since you two
I
did the
would like
work?
to second that, yep.
Okay. Are there any questions? I think we've already addressed the couple discrepancies that we have.
Right.
And very nice work, B and Aaron, and nice work to the ladies of the court who do a fabulous job. There was not a penny difference this year. We finally solved our ongoing $5 discrepancy.
And also thanks to Karen, because Karen also spent some time investigating this as well.
And she
Thank you very
still
much.
is. Yes.
Did you say
Thank
you
you.
found that $5?
We
We,
did not. We eventually,
Oh.
at the blessings of the accountant, it has been written off.
Oh, good.
Yes,
So I want you to know, when you said the ladies of the court, they sound very royal.
that's true. Kate, roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depue,
aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next, the town board authorized the town supervisor to cast the town of Rochester ballot for the Catskill Watershed Corporation Board of Directors, Ulster County Representative for nominee James Safranco. He is the town of Olive supervisor, and Mr. Safranco is running unopposed. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And to clarify, this is for the corporation. It is the ongoing group. So any other questions on that? Kate, we'll do a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depue,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock.
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, while we're on that topic, what is the board's feeling on the dues for the other organization, the Coalition of Watershed Towns? If you'd like to make a resolution authorizing me to put that into our March vouchers, I will do that. Or if you want to wait and talk about it further, we can.
I think he gave a good enough explanation. I'm glad we're kind of at the low end of the spectrum with the dues.
Yeah.
It
It seems like they have 3 tiers. Each one goes up $750, and we are at the low tier and always have been. But and shame on me for not bringing this to you. Somehow the request in 2020 vanished, didn't get seen. Who knows what happened until we
get
got
mailed?
the bill this year.
On the flip side, did it get mailed to us?
Who knows? It may have been emailed and we missed it. In April and May, we were a little hot and heavy with Project Resilience, and there was a lot going on, and who knows what happened. So I'll then go ahead and make the motion that to authorize the town supervisor to create a voucher for the 2020 and 2021 dues to the Coalition of Watershed Towns.
I'll second that.
Okay. Kate, roll call vote?
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depue,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock.
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. And I will put one as abstract 15, which will be, so the 2020 will be billed back to 2020. So we don't take the full hit in 1 year for 2 years of dues. Next, contract renewal. The town board authorizes the town supervisor to sign the renewal of a contract with Peak Power Systems of 99 Sprague Avenue, Middletown, New York, for an annual agreement for generator service maintenance at the Harold Lipton Community Center. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any questions on this? For clarification, I'm going with the lower one, the 495.45, which is the 1 visit per year as opposed to the 2. That's what we did last year. It is now it's a 1-year-old generator. Last year it was a brand new generator.
I was hoping that in their building inspection, that wasn't the generator they were
No, they were
speaking
talking
of.
about
That
the
was
one
at
at the
the end
highway
of its
department, which is an
life.
old Army surplus that we got from an auction or secure. It wasn't even auction. We secured it for hundreds, if even that. Mr. Miller was able to secure that for us at a very,
Exactly.
very good savings. So we certainly have gotten our use out of that one. Anyway, did I ask for a motion on that, Kate? Or did I
Yeah.
just explain it? Okay.
It got you. And
Yeah, roll call vote then, please.
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next, this is another contract renewal. The town board authorized the town supervisor to sign an extension of the shared services contract dated May 3rd, 2018 between the Cohasset Board First Aid Squad and the town of Rochester as presented, effective through December 31, 2021. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? I'll
I'll
second it. Okay. Are there any questions or discussion?
Yeah, just refresh my memory as to what it is and for the public.
Yep.
I always,
So the town has always given money to the rescue squad for their services of being our town rescue squad for the bulk of our town, as we have learned, all except for 100 homes that are covered by Marbletown. We discovered a few years ago that there would never been an actual contract between us, so we started one in May of 2018. We have now renewed it each year, and in return for the services and the funding we give them, we also do their plowing and salting and plowing and sanding of their parking lot, and they also piggyback on our fuel oil and contract with Costco. It's not Costco anymore. I forgot the name now, but so they are not eligible to not be a taxed organization, but we as a government agency, so they piggyback off our contract, and so that's essentially our agreement. But we give them $22,000 a year, which for the services they do is a drop in the bucket compared if we had to have a paid ambulance service. So thank you for all the work they do. Any other questions? Kate, roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Anowen, Councilwoman Hagen Depew,
aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. And one more thing on the Cohasset Accord is Mark Smith, their president, has been in touch with me, and I am trying to help them find some grant opportunities for some new equipment for stretchers that will, it's how they attach into the ambulance, so they hook and slide in, so it's not as much strain on the backs of the people who are lifting the stretchers. Sadly, they are very expensive, and they are in need of 2. I'm doing some research to try to find grant opportunities for them for that. And I will also be reaching out to Assemblyman Cahill, who has been able to provide some types of funding for those types of items for other agencies. So Mark and I spoke last week, and we'll see what we can find for him to help him out. But if anybody comes across any grants in your searching for, especially for first responders, please let me know. Next, this is awarding the contract. I won't read through the whole resolution. We have already awarded the bid to the alert alarm and security system for the fire and smoke alarm system. They have supplied us the required documentation. They already had supplied us all the insurance certificates. I noticed their auto expired at the end of February, so they gladly provided me the update to that. So we have all updated insurance certificates from them. So I'm asking the town to allow me to sign acceptance of the terms of the proposal, and it is in the amount that they quoted us. Also, when I spoke to the gentleman, we had incorrect information. He says he did visit, and he may have had a representative visit and who didn't have his business card with him. So Jeff did not have a record that they had visited, but he clarified they knew what they were getting into. They did visit the property. It makes me feel a lot better. He said, as long as we didn't need engineered drawings, they can do it for this amount of money. And I said, we did not, as long as it met building and fire code. And that's what we were asking for, and we knew what we were asking for. So some good things came out of that discussion. So I'll make that resolution. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Are there any other questions on it? If not, Kate, a roll call vote?
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Brayden.
Aye. And one more bit of information. He said, as soon as I sign the contract and get it back to them, they'll order the equipment, which means they should be able to start work within the two weeks once they get the materials that they need for the project. So, and he thought that they could knock it out within a week to 10 days worth of work.
Ahead of the next resolution, should I make a motion to close the public hearing?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
No.
Let me just check if Rob Kilpert, who joined us, Rob, do you have any interest in speaking on the public hearing for local law number 1, which is to add an alternate to the ethics board?
Add an alternate to the ethics board. I have no comment.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to check. We have held the public hearing open in case anybody came in late to speak on it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Aaron, you make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, Kate, roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Brayden.
Aye. Next, I circulated to all of you a draft part 2 of, at least I hope I did. Did all of you get that with the packet?
I did.
Okay. I think if one of you did, then you all did, because you all got the same packet. So the town board resolves to declare local law 1 of 2021 amendment to chapter 17 ethics as being an unlisted action under seeker. We already did that. And to declare a negative declaration, having reviewed part 1 and 2 of the short form environmental assessment form, and determining local law 1 of 2021 will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact, and consequently no EIS will be prepared. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions on it? It's being a legislative act. It's fairly straightforward that there's no environmental impacts. So Kate, that does require a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depew. I think she might be lost.
Oh, she froze up.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, next, to consider the amendment to chapter 17, local law 1. The town board adopts, let me let B back in. Hi, B, you're back.
I know. I'm
Do you
sorry.
want to, do you want to vote on the neg deck? If you are okay, you can vote.
Yes, I would like to.
Okay,
Aye. It's
Thank you.
good.
thank you very much. So now we are on resolution K. The town board adopts local law 1 of 2021 amendment to chapter 17 ethics and requests the town clerk file the local law with the Department of State.
I'll make the
Make that
motion.
motion.
Okay.
Go ahead,
One of
Eric.
you-
I'll second it.
one's
I'll
in- Okay. Any questions or discussion? Okay, Kate, roll call vote?
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next, I had spoken to all of you that I was wanting to introduce local law on amendment to subdivision law. B, I apologize. I was not able to get to Maren to get to connect with her to get a letter. But I will introduce this resolution. It says, whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board desires to amend the code of the Town of Rochester, Chapter 125 subdivision to correct a discrepancy between the definition and code text. And whereas the supervisor has completed a Part 1 assessment for the action and the Town of Rochester Town Board classifies this action as a Type 1 action, with the Town of Rochester being designated lead agency for the purposes of State Environmental Quality Review Act. Therefore, the town board requests the town clerk circulate referral of the local law to the Town of Rochester Planning Board and the Ulster County Planning Board, and request the town clerk post and advertise legal notice of a public hearing for local law 3 of 2021, amendment to chapter 125 subdivision to be held April 8th, 2021 at 6:30 PM, to be held either in person at the Harold Lipton Community Center or via video conference in compliance with the governor's executive order and successors. Real quick, I put it as a separate meeting. We could do it on the 1st, which is our regular meeting. It's up to the board if you wanted to do it at a regular meeting or hold it off for a special meeting, but I'm going to make that resolution to have a second for discussion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other buddy want to discuss?
Just that, was this recommended by the company we have looking over these laws? Or was it found by?
No,
the planning
this was
board?
only caught by the planning board recently. We had 2 and now we have a 3rd application that is going through major subdivision review that would not have been major subdivision except for this misclarification. Mary Lou can probably speak to it a little bit
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, it's just like a silly mistake in the writing of the section as it is now, which makes people jump through hoops to do a very small change. I recommend that this change be made.
The way I covered it, Maren and I did have a conversation and she was concerned that people would take advantage and continue to re-subdivide small amounts over and over again. The way I handled that is that if you re-subdivide within 5 years of the previous subdivision, you then are a major subdivision. So figuring 5 years down the road, if you make a change, that's one thing. If you're going to make a change every 2 or 3 years, and certainly this is just being sent out for review and comment. We'll hear back from the planning board. We'll hear back from the county what they think about it. It's a fairly simple fix to a problem that has existed since the code was updated in 2012 or 14, I believe. It was not properly being referred. And once the error of the referrals was corrected, we've now had 3 in 3 months of subdivisions that have been major that now have to ask for a lot of waivers that they wouldn't have to do if they were properly classified. So they are properly classified by the law. The law has a circular problem in it, and this will fix the problem.
Do we have specific language on it as such, Mike?
Yeah, I emailed it to everybody, but I'm happy
Okay.
to share screen on it if you'd like.
You don't have to. I'll get it. I
Okay.
just didn't read it all the way through.
Yep, it's fairly straightforward. It adds one sentence to the definition, which basically states that the definition currently says a re-subdivision is classified in the same manner it was originally reviewed under. So if you were a minor subdivision and you re-subdivide, you're still a minor subdivision, except I added the sentence that if you re-subdivide within 5 years of your last subdivision, then you will be a major subdivision in any case. Then we also struck out the words and re-subdivision in the code where it stated that every re-subdivision was a major subdivision. And that's where the error occurred, is between the text and the definition, they said two different things. But because they said two different things, we had to follow the text, which was, and we lost B again, which was the more restrictive situation. So this will correct that problem for future. Okay. Kate, roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depew, Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, we need to go into executive session for 3 items. They should be fairly short. So I'm going to make a recommended resolution that we motion to enter into executive session for the discussion of potential employment of a particular person. I'm also going to add for the employment of another particular person. And the third is for the review of a potential volunteer for the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Do you want to wait for B before we go in, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I can let her in if she pops into the meeting.
Mike, was one of the topics in executive session what we talked about today?
Yes, and I'm going to
Okay.
ask you to join us
Oh,
for
okay.
this, if you wouldn't mind, you and Mary Lou.
That's fine.
Rob, I'm going to ask you, there's B. I will have to ask you either to sign off or you'll have to join us again later. Apologies.
No problem.
I'm back.
You're back just in time for us to go into executive session, B.
Thank God. Thank
did
you
we-
for your answer, Mike. I got most of it. And
Yep.
Mary Lou, I didn't get all your discussion, but never mind. I'll
Oh.
figure it out.
Okay, if you got
All
any
right.
questions, you got a month to figure it out. Kate,
You know where to
I don't
find
think
me.
we voted on, did we? See exactly?
You
Yes,
made
we
the
did.
No.
motion. I'll make the second.
Okay. So roll call vote?
Councilwoman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hagen Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Okay, I'm gonna stop